Good morning and happy Easter to each and every one of you. I will speak more about Easter in a moment, but first I would like to thank Wayne Thusch for stepping up to the podium last Sunday with a very fine, insightful message, and I certainly appreciate it. Some of you may have thought I had a little repercussions or some difficulties in my recuperation from my recent heart attack, but that is not true. Actually, it's just the opposite. Wayne took over the helm last Sunday because I had the pleasure of having as my guests both of my daughters and my oldest granddaughter for a week. And they'd been planning that trip for over a month. It was such a delight and such a blessing to spend a week with them. So again, Wayne, thank you. Easter. You know, just in the number of people that are watching this, there are as many beliefs, perceptions, and rituals and habits of celebrating Easter as there are people. Here at Church of the Oaks, we do not teach a doctrine of Christianity. So I'm going to wish that each of you has this time we call Easter. And I hope that however you celebrate it, or maybe you don't celebrate it, that's fine. I just wish you peace and joy this beautiful day. But what I would like to say about Easter is that in the Christian religions, Easter is the time when the celebration of the death and resurrection of Jesus occurred. And what I would like to say about that is I'd like to talk more about the message of the man, his purpose. And his message was actually quite simple. Love one another. Love your neighbor as yourself. And if you stop and think about that a little bit further than just love your neighbor as yourself, you are both parties. You are the neighbor, and you are you. And in this world, we are one. You know, I think it's divine timing that Lincoln and Barbara, in their Wednesday evening message discussion, talked about the topic of love. And I'm going to continue that today. The great leaders of nonviolence, Jesus, King, Gandhi, Mandela, their whole premise was love one another. But they didn't talk to us much about self-love. And I think that's paramount. You know, as your minister, a vocation that you have honored me with, sometimes I get to wondering, does anybody really listen to this? I know there are some views but does anybody, I don't know, I guess I feel like Johnny Appleseed, and I'm just going around planting these seeds of possibility, these seeds that might allow us to expand our awareness, elevate our consciousness, become more aware of spiritual truth. And I never know, quite often I don't have any idea whether those seeds have sprouted or grown. But last week, it was very, I don't know, affirming. When Wayne talked about two suggestions I'd made to read the books, The 5 Levels of Attachment by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and What Can I Do by Jane Fonda. He had the books and he'd read them. And his awareness was expanded a little bit. And he shared that with us. And that's the whole purpose of this ministry, folks, is to find ways that we somehow might be able to expand our awareness, elevate our consciousness, become aware of more spiritual truth and share it. Use it in our own personal lives and share it with others. I'm going to do that again today. I'm going to plant some seeds. I've been following a young lady, not like a stalker dude or anything like that, but I've been following a young lady for the last 7 or 8 years, I guess, on Link TV, on Free Speech, on PBS, YouTube. And her name is Valerie Kaur. Valerie Kaur. Please remember that. Write it down. She is a civil rights attorney, an activist, a filmmaker, and now a best-selling author. And she has, over the years, been very inspirational for me and thousands, maybe millions of others. And over the last couple of years, she has developed something she calls, it's a program, a project, and she calls it the Revolutionary Love Project. And I'm going to invite all of you, plant some seeds. Go to Valerie Kaur, Kaur.com. Go to revolutionarylove.net. Go to the Revolutionary Project. Google it. And there you will find a breakdown. And across the top, you'll see about us, contact us, and you'll see educational hub or learning hub. Click on that. It's very insightful and allows you to go through this whole program that she has developed. And as well, I encourage each of you to go to YouTube and just type in Valerie Kaur. And there are 50 to 100 videos. The last couple are really good. They're short, but they were 2 weeks ago, 5 days ago, 3 weeks ago. But I think the most explanatory one, the one that really I enjoy watching, and I've watched it a few times, it's one of the first ones you'll see when you search her name. And if you look in the fine type below the video, it says Bioneers. Her introduction is quite informative, and her story, the story of revolutionary love, it's amazing. And she has developed what she calls a compass. And if you go to that learning hub, you'll see this compass. If you watch the videos, you'll understand what she's talking about. But it's a compass that has 10 points to it, but it's divided into 3 sections. It's loving others, loving our opponents, and loving ourselves. And when she talks about loving others, she starts it off, the first point she uses is see no strangers, which coincidentally happens to be the title of her brand new book. And it's on the bestseller list. You can buy the book I'm not encouraging you to spend money. You can. Watch the videos. Check out the websites. When you see no stranger, you think of yourself. You think of that stranger, that other person. That's a part of me that I just don't know about yet. All these other people, I should listen to their stories. And I'd know more. I'd be more aware of what I am as well, because we all are one. And I've listened to Valerie's story several times, and she includes part of her story in almost every video. And Valerie, thank you, because now your story is part of my story. And then she talks about loving our opponents. And the first primary goal, task of loving our opponents is to tend to the wounds. Because our opponents, they're people just like us. You know, I was having a conversation with my oldest granddaughter just the other day when she was here. And she said, Grandpa, you know, how is it there's people like all these white supremacists and all these rich corporations, and how is it that they can think so differently? I said it has to do with the environment in which they were raised. My grandchildren were raised and my kids were raised, and do the best you can, strive to get an education, either in college or a trade school or an apprenticeship, some way to be able to earn the most money you can to provide for your family and yourselves the best you can. And try to find what it is you love and pursue that as a career. But there are several young people that are brought up in very different circumstance, and they are told that your family is very powerful and has a lot of money. And you watch, there are millions of people that want to take that away from you. If you see something you want, take it before somebody else does. And once you have what it is you want, watch out, because there's millions of people with their hand out wanting to take what you have. And with that kind of upbringing and teaching, that's their environment. Where do they find love? Where do they find joy? What kind of satisfaction are they capable of having? They're always in fear. And they're always hating those stupid, lazy people that are just out trying to get their money. Love. It's talked about so much of the time as an emotion. And actually, love is a verb. And the last type of love that Valerie talks about is our love of self. And she uses the analogy, the explanation that when we learn to love ourselves, it's like a transition. Like we transition into death. When we give birth, we transition as we deliver, as we go through these labor pains. And it's very interesting and affirming to me that she uses that analogy. When our country entered Afghanistan and Iraq in the year after 9/11. From this podium, I use the analogy that there is so much pain in our world that my hope was that it was a pain of labor, a labor pain, that we might, as a global society, give birth to a new society, not based on class and economy and war and power and violence. And Valerie articulates this analogy so much better, with so much more love and skill and inspiration. She uses words so beautiful that I could never come up with. So I encourage each of you. She calls this love labor. It is a labor. We say a labor of love. Love is the labor. And as we go through the next generations, we must pay due diligence and continue to do the labor, this thing we call love. Our earth, our climate, our societies, the injustice, it all needs to be changed, to be improved. It's time for all of us on this planet to give birth to a new way of organizing and managing society, life on this planet. Revolutionary love. I joined that project a while back, and I've decided to commit my labor for as many days as I have left breathing air to being a revolutionary lover, to love others, to listen to their stories, to learn more about me, to love myself. Forgiveness that is the thing that frees me from guilt, self-loathing, disappointment. And our opponents, they're just people, just like we are, that have been taught different things than the most of us. And their souls have been wounded. Their outlook, their expectations, their goals are based on a philosophy that does not cohabitate with the rest of humanity. So I'm going to do the work, do the labor of love for the rest of my generation. I'm going to continue to plant seeds everywhere I go, and hopefully in everything I do and say. And I expect to see some of them bloom in the beauty of love. I'm going to close today with the lyrics of a song. It's the last line. A good friend of mine, Jerry Reed, he was probably one of the finest guitar pickers that ever played a guitar. He was a country music singer, folk singer. He was also an actor. You might remember him as the truck driver in Smokey and the Bandit. He did a lot of funny songs, fun songs, humorous songs. But he did one back in the late 60s, if I remember correctly. It was called A Thing Called Love. The last line of that song goes, ever since time, nothing's ever been found stronger than love. And so it is.